One of the most helpful things that I've learned in the last few years is to not care so much and to realize what is in my realm of control and what is not. So, that's the idea that there's only certain things that you can control in your life. And that's usually really, really, really tiny. And the rest of it is outside of what you can possibly manage, do, affect, anything like that. And what I have learned in order to be happy inside or happier, I'm not happy all the time, but, more content, more feeling more better off. It's just not to care. And I know that sounds really ruthless, but it has allowed me to do a lot more in my life and to prioritize the things that matter in my life. Um, so you probably know that if you're listening to this, that I come from my family's pretty busy. Um, my immediate family's pretty busy, right? So I work as a professor. I do a lot of research, as much as I possibly can. But, my wife is also she's a veterinarian, and so we both have very busy careers. My wife works long hours, um, and, I have to sometimes pick up the kids. I remember many, many times where I was the sort of central person to go do that kind of stuff because nobody else was there. But we would try to work as a team as best we can. And there was years, there was moments, there was times where it didn't work out that way, right? Like we weren't working as a team and it sort of felt like we were falling apart. Um, but that is a natural progression of living life. You sort of go through a series of different things where you feel like you're out of control. Um, but for me, the most helpful thing that has ever sort of gotten into my life is the belief of just not caring, right? Like turning off that feeling, and I'm still working at this, turning off the feeling that I have to try to come to the rescue, um, that I need to be there, that if I'm not there and then everything falls apart. Or, that everybody needs to like me, right? Like, I think that there is such a desire, at least in my mind, I just want everybody to like me so much. Um, and it's funny if I know my mom listens to this, she would probably she would laugh because that is who I am. I've always wanted to be this very strong, sort of a derogatory way to say it is like a people pleaser. I always wanted to be that person that I didn't want to upset anybody, and it's hard for me to make choices because of this, because I don't want to upset anybody. But one of the more important things I've learned is that a lot of people can't make decisions um, because of the fact that they just can't, right? Like there's something going on inside of them. And so for me to do things that matter in my life, to spend time with my family, um, to do this reciprocity project is to just not care. Right? Like try to work on that desire. And it takes a lot of work, a tremendous amount of work, that desire to want to please other people, um, to want to, come to the rescue, to think that I matter, right? And when you turn those things off, um, when you work on that, particularly, in a macro environment that seems to often feels like it's falling apart or we're going backwards. A lot of us, you probably know what I'm talking about. You probably have seen a lot of things that are going on. But It's to turn off that where I just simply can't internalize that so much. And that means, distancing in various different ways. I understand the atrocities that are happening in this world. I'm deeply well aware of them. Um, but I can't deal with processing it and being really wrapped up into it, or else I'm not going to, first of all, I'm going to hate a lot of people. Um, and that hate really eats you up, right? And I think it's not healthy. Second of all, there's very little that I can do about it anyways. Um, you know, there's a moment in time when you can do things and you can't do it all the time. And so having that locus, like focusing on what you can control in your day to day, doing little messages like this is maybe the only thing that I could do. And then maybe somebody, some leader someplace might listen to this and they might say, wait, you know, I understand. I see from a different perspective. Maybe I need to like chill out a little bit. Or it's another way to think about it is just it doesn't matter as much as you think it is. It does. And so I've been working on that, and it's been a really important part of my life because it allows me to do things that I wouldn't otherwise do. Right. And it sheds some of the guilt. I still feel a tremendous amount of guilt not working. Um, I feel a tremendous amount of guilt when I talk about spending time with my family, even though that is an extraordinarily important part of my life, and I'm going to try to spend as much time with my family as possible. Um, I feel a lot of guilt when I do things like, get exercise. I feel a lot of guilt when I'm not performing at the level that I should be. Like all these things that are baked into, it's particularly baked into the academic profession. If you are listening to this, you understand. And if you're in the academic profession, you completely understand. There's this like, I think it's a psychotic kind of like culture where it's a one up of everybody else. And man, if you're not there, if you're not performing at the top, you're garbage. And I've been the only way that I can't fix that culture, right? Like I can't fix any of that stuff. And so the only thing that I could do is tune out and realize, yep, you know what? That's gonna go on. I can't fix it. The only thing that I can fix is myself. And the way that I fix it is to distance myself, to focus on just not caring as much, um, eh, to really not get wrapped up into all of the things that are going on in the world around me. Like really just focus on my lane, and that's it. And the more that I practice that, and it's a practice, it's an art where you actively engage in that, where you try to not respond to emails right away. You try to, um, you know, maybe there's a moment where somebody's asking you to do something and you just say, I can't do it. Um, you know, things like that are really incredibly important. Those little tiny moments where you practice and it feels like you're being very disobedient. At least for me, I feel like I'm being very disobedient and feeling very guilty for not doing it. But I simply just have to say I can't. And the more that you practice that, even at home, um, like that happens a lot at home where I simply just say I can't, right? Like I tell that to my wife. She wants to do a lot, and I just simply say I can't do it. Um, or no, right? And it sounds when I say that, it sounds like I'm being really rude and really like, and not a very good husband, or when I tell my kids no. It feels like and it sounds like I'm being like not a very good dad. But at the same time, it's knowing where you stand and knowing where your locus of control is and just fixing on that and focusing on that because you can't do everything. And you simply just have to do your thing. And if you focus on your little tiny thing and you keep focusing on that for a long time and you really try to protect it, I think it's important. And good things actually happen when you do that. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.